electronic shitter. Oh my god. Alright, what's happening everybody? It's Scott here from WFLBC, and I'm going to give you my first impressions of this Pentax KP, which is an APS-C censored DSLR 24.2 megapixels CMOS sensor. Pretty run-of-the-mill in that regard. I got this camera to review from a Canadian camera retailer who wishes to remain anonymous because they're not really in the business of doing camera review partnerships, but you know who you are, so thank you very much for letting me use this KP and possibly keep it, which is something maybe I will talk about later in another video. Probably not, but yeah, that's it for that. So Pentax. Pentax is a camera brand that's been around for a long time, a very famous Japanese camera brand. They are currently owned by Ricoh, so a lot of Pentax tech is actually Ricoh tech and vice versa. This camera, so many of you are familiar with the Ricoh GR series of point and shoot cameras with APS-C sensors. They're very popular for people who like to do street photography. The GR3 was just announced with a 24.2 megapixel CMOS sensor, and it is very similar sensor and processor wise to this camera. So a lot of the image quality stuff in terms of the sensor, the sensitivity, the color science, the lack of an AA filter, they're very transferable to that camera. I don't know if I'll be reviewing that camera. I shot with a GR2 for a little while, and I prefer Fujifilm's cameras to that particular system, even with snap focus, but getting totally off course here. Pentax. So Pentax has been around forever, and I actually have a ton of Pentax gear. One of the first cameras that really got me into film photography was this Pentax Sp1000, which is essentially a Spotmatic, but with the maximum shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second, and the meter is slightly different, so it's a one step down from the famous Spotmatic. But this was my grandfather's camera, and it came with a 50mm f2 lens, which I've replaced with the famous Super Takumar 50mm f1.4, which is on there now. Famous because it's very, well, not very, but it's radioactive. It's got a thorium lens coating, which gives it kind of a yellow tint, which I'm sure you can maybe pick up there. I also have a Pentax Program Plus. This was also called a Program A in other parts of the world, and it came with this Pentax A 50mm f2. I have a faster prime for this as well, but this is one of my favorite film cameras, and it's the one manual focus SLR that I use the most, and I love this camera. It's very simple. It uses a modern battery, so you don't have any issues with that. I've also got this Pentax PZ10, which is an autofocus film SLR that my wife got me for Christmas this year. I haven't shot much with it, but it's an interesting camera. One thing that's really weird about it is the display is here and the hot shoes here, where on most cameras they're reversed. Not sure why they did that. I guess if you're shooting with your right eye, the flash isn't going to bonk you. It's going to be over here, but very interesting camera. And I also have this big beast here. This is a Pentax 645 medium format film SLR. It uses 120 and 220 format film. I currently have a roll of Japan Camera Hunter Street Pen 400 in here. I have never shot an entire roll of film with this camera. This camera intimidates me to no end. I will shoot this roll of film. I have an entire 645 kit, so I have 3 lenses, I have macro extension tubes, I've got teleconverters, I've got backs, I've got everything. And I got this thing for so cheap. I think I paid 400 Canadian dollars for it for that entire set. So I'll be shooting some with this. But it didn't really occur to me that I had that much Pentax gear until I got my hands on this KP, because The cool thing about Pentax stuff is, and you'll notice on the KP, I've got a Pentax A 50mm f 1.4, which I bought for the Program Plus. It is the same lens mount, so it's a Pentax K mount. This one is a KA mount, so it has one electrical contact that still lines up with one of the electrical contacts on the body, and that transfers aperture information between the lens and the body. And if you put this lens on auto aperture, it will control the aperture for you. And also, when you're shooting with a lens like this and you half press the shutter, what's going on? Oh, I have it in live view. When you half press the shutter and then you focus, gives you a confirmation beep, which is unbelievably cool. It's much better than peaking, in my opinion, for manual focusing lenses. First impressions, the build on this camera is really solid. It's a full magnesium body, it's weather and dust sealed, big thick rubber flaps on all the ports. It just has a single memory card slot, so we all know how everybody feels about that. It's a heavy body. It's compared to my mirrorless stuff, it's pretty beefy. It comes with interchangeable grips right in the box, which is really, really cool. I've got the large grip on it right now, which is very comfortable to hold, but it also comes with a medium grip, and it's like a metal frame with a nice rubberized plastic shell on it, and then a small grip. The medium one's actually pretty comfortable too. The small one's a little too small for me. I don't have very big hands either, so I don't know. And it comes actually with the Allen key to change them. This comes with 5-axis in-body stabilization, so you get up to 5 stops of stabilization in body with this camera. I don't know if it works in video. I feel like it doesn't. But for shooting stills for slower shutter speeds, it's fantastic. This particular body came with just the standard kit lens, which is a 16 to 55 f 3.5 to 5.6, like a standard kit zoom lens. But the big difference here is this lens, you know, normally kit lenses, like cheap kit lenses, will have a plastic mount. This one's got an all metal mount. It's weather and dust sealed, just like the body, so it's got a nice rubber ring around the lens mount here. Everything is nice and thickly rubber coated. The zoom ring is nice textured rubber. The focusing ring, same thing, a really nice textured rubber. As far as cheap kit lens goes, this thing is really well built. It's not the heaviest thing. Obviously the barrel construction is plastic, but yeah, the results I've been getting from it are not terrible. And if you want to go out and just sort of do some snapshot shooting in the rain, or some travel shooting in the rain or the fog or the cold, this is a great combo. This thing will work down to -10 Celsius, and honestly probably lower than that. Pentax is very famous for having very rugged cameras, which I can attest to personally. I've also got the Pentax DA 50mm f1.8, which is an all plastic 50mm prime lens. This would be the equivalent of like a nifty 50 if you are familiar with that term. This is around $100 US, which for the image quality you get out of it and the fact that it's f1.8 it's a really nice lens. I'm very surprised by it. And I also picked up, which I will sell when I'm done, I'm pretty sure, but this 50 to 200 zoom lens, which is about the same size as the kit lens, which is pretty insane to me to get 200mm out of that. I mean, it's f4 to 5 point, is that 5.6 or 5.8? f4 to 5.6. So it's, you know, not the fastest lens. So it's 2019, and this is a DSLR. And why would anybody want to shoot with a DSLR in 2019 when mirrorless cameras are so good? Well, one reason is how rugged DSLRs are, particularly Pentax DSLRs. This thing can take an absolute beating, and You can use it in all kinds of weather and be pretty confident that it's going to work the next time you go to use it. The image quality that you get out of this camera is, so far what I've seen, is excellent. The colors are great. The dynamic range is quite good. You actually get up to ISO 800,000 something, but that doesn't, I don't know. The shutter on this thing sounds great. It's good for up to 1/6,000th of a second. It also has an electronic shutter, oh my God. An electronic shutter that's good for up to 1/24,000th of a second. Control-wise, it's got buttons and dials galore, which in true Pentax fashion are endlessly customizable. Who is this camera for? So I think it's for people that have a lot of old film gear, like me, and want to be able to use it. And I also think it's for people who are a little rough with their equipment. I don't research these videos at all before I start, but this thing has, I think it's 27 autofocus points, which on DSLR is plenty. Because of the way DSLRs work and they focus, 27 is plenty. And when you're in optical viewfinder mode, they're phase detect, so they're very, very fast and very accurate. Yeah, tell me what you guys think. Do you think that in 2019, something like this, a DSLR, it's a little bigger, a little tougher, but not, you know, you're not saving a lot of money. Do you think that a DSLR still has a place in the current camera market over mirrorless? Now, I'm a mirrorless shooter, like I just am. I shoot Fujifilm almost exclusively, but this camera, I saw Matthias Berling make a video about it almost a year ago, I think, and it really piqued my interest, and I finally was able to get my hands on one. Just quickly wanted to talk about some other stuff that's going on with the channel. I've actually recently sold a few cameras, which is like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I sold my, what did I sell? I've sold a Panasonic FZ 300, so 4K Lumix bridge camera. Great camera, but I just never used it anymore. I also sold my G7X Mark II, which kind of hurts still actually, but I found that my GoPro Hero 7 was doing 90% of the stuff I used to use the G7X Mark II for, so it had to go. And I sold, this is the hardest one, I sold my Fujifilm X-T100 with that terrible little power zoom kit lens, which was great for video, the lens, but the X-T100 itself, when I needed to use my X-T20 for photography and I needed it to be in a video, I couldn't rely on that X-T100 to pick up the slack video-wise for it, so it's gone. I loved it. For a stills camera, it is outstanding. For vlogging, it's pretty good, and I love that camera. So selling it was a tough choice, but it just wasn't being used again as much as it needed to be. So with selling all of those cameras, I have ordered the new X-T30. It should be here in about a month, I think, is when they're expecting the first ones to arrive. And I am looking forward to that. I think that it's going to replace the X-T20 as the permanent studio camera just because of the video autofocus capabilities. And then I'll be able to use the X-T20 to test out lenses and stuff like that, which is still more than capable for that role. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. We're going to Disneyland in a couple of months with the family, so I'm sure I'll be making some videos from there. Let me know if there's anything else you guys want to see on the channel. Leave a comment below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, again, congratulations to Chris, who won the XT3 cage last week, and another shout out to Small Rig for sending me that cage to review and to give away. I think that's it. You guys, I don't know if you can see my dogs. They're laying on the couch back here, but they've been so good the whole time that I've been making this video. Hang on, let me grab them for you. They don't know what's going on. So this is Olive over here, and this is Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is spelled Wan like the name Wan. They are such good dogs, even though Olive likes to bite me sometimes, don't you? Yeah, but you're a good girl and you're a good boy. And that's it. And I will see you guys next week, or whenever.